Hey there, thanks for being here. If you're thinking of moving to the state of Florida, probably one of the primary concerns that you have, that you're asking yourself these days is what is the cost of living here? What sort of expectations should you have in just basic living costs here in the Sunshine State? And so today's video, I'm going to give you some answers to that question. I happen to be here in Cape Coral, Florida, where I've lived for nearly 20 years. So much of these figures are going to be based on what you can expect if you were living here in Southwest Florida, which is our region. But I'm going to go over some things today like property taxes. I'm going to give you a pretty in-depth coverage of property insurance, which is very important these days. It's certainly in the news a lot, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. So hopefully you'll be a little bit pleasantly surprised when it comes to the numbers that I give you for property insurance. But I'm also going to give you some average expectations for things like utility bills, and then we'll close up with just some maintenance costs that you might not be aware of, things like pool care or mowing your lawn, what you can expect to pay for that on a monthly basis. So make sure you stick around to the end. I would also love to hear from you in the comments, hear what your expectations were, if these numbers differed at all from what you had expected in terms of cost of living here for the state of Florida. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Dustin Guthrie. I'm a longtime Southwest Florida resident. I'm here with my wife and my 3 little kids. I'm also a near 20-year real estate broker, and I do a video like this every single week. Just usually really good informational topics like this. I try to create a lot of value, give you a lot of good information for the folks that are interested in Southwest Florida. So if you live here now, or maybe you're thinking of moving to Cape Coral or moving to Fort Myers or moving to Punta Gorda, wherever here in Southwest Florida, reach over and hit that subscribe button, because I think you'll get a lot out of these videos. I put a lot of time and effort into these things. I try to pick some really good topics and give you a lot of really solid information, just because I know if I can do that and create some value for you, you're going to remember me when the time does come and you do need a realtor here in Southwest Florida. And of course, my contact information is right here on the screen, but it's also down in the description of this video. And you can call, text, or email me anytime. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear about your real estate goals and tell you a little bit about how I can help you solve those. So with that being said, let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with what you can expect, at least here in the city of Cape Coral, for property taxes. The one bright spot about moving to the state of Florida is you don't have an income tax here. So especially for the folks that are coming down here planning on working in the state, you're going to save some money there. You're only going to be responsible for federal income taxes, no state income taxes. But we do have property taxes here. So if you're planning on buying a property, either a home or maybe a condo or something like that, you are going to be expected to pay property taxes on those. And that's basically how we fund our municipalities here and our counties. So in my particular case, we are in Lee County here in Southwest Florida. So Lee County covers Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres is out to the east, and then we've got Estero and Bonita Springs down in the southern parts of the county. And we have our own property appraiser here in Lee County, and I'm going to show you what their website looks like. Most of the counties in the state of Florida will have a property appraiser's website, and you can go on there, and oftentimes they'll have these tax estimators. And what you can do in this particular case for Lee County Property Appraiser, this website is leepa.org. You go there and you can search for a particular property address. So if you know a property that you're looking at purchasing or something like that, you can go in there and search for that property, and we pull it up here. And over to the right, you'll notice there's a link here for a tax estimator, and Lee County does a pretty darn good job of getting a pretty accurate estimation out of these out of this website right here. So you can see if we go there and let's say we're going to pay $400,000 for this property, it's going to kick out what your estimated taxes will be, and in this case it's $5,684. Now I will say that this is for the ad valorem taxes, which is the majority of your property taxes in Lee County. But this doesn't include a few $100s of your non-ad valorem taxes. That's things like your garbage pickup. Sometimes there are fire assessments or utility assessments that are added on top of there. So in this particular case for this property, you could probably plan on your annual tax bill is going to be right around that $6,000. So about $500 a month in property taxes for this particular property here. Another important thing when it comes to property taxes in the state of Florida are the exemptions that you could qualify for. Now, I didn't include any of these exemptions in this example calculation we just did, but for instance, if it's a primary residence that you're claiming, If it is your primary residence, you can take what's called a homestead exemption, and that allows you to take $50,000 off the taxable assessed value of the home. It's a pretty significant savings. There's some other ones too. So there's a senior exemption where you can take an additional $50,000 off if you're over the age of 65 and you make less than $20,000 a year in income. So if you're retired and you don't have a steady income like that, you could qualify for that, and that's an additional, again, $50,000 off that taxable assessed value. There's some other ones too. For instance, if you're blind or you're a widow or widower, that's some smaller exemptions that you can take off your property taxes. So it's important, again, if you're working with a qualified realtor like myself, I can tell you what you may qualify for and how to go about applying for those exemptions. They're very important to get that tax bill lowered a little bit for you. So that's a really useful tool, at least for here in Lee County, and that's about what you can expect to pay for this price range, at least in Cape Coral. If you're going to go to other areas like North Fort Myers here in Lee County, that's not under a municipality, you're only going to pay county taxes there, so it'll be a little bit less, but pretty much on par just about anywhere you go here in this particular county. Now it's going to be different if you're over in West Palm Beach or if you're up in Sarasota or Tampa or something like that, so definitely go to those counties' respective property appraisers' website, and you're pretty sure to find a tax estimator on those sites that can give you a pretty good idea of what you can expect to pay in property taxes depending on where you're planning on living. So definitely a useful tool for Lee County, and definitely property taxes are one of the main expenditures that property owners here in Florida are going to see on a monthly and annual basis. So with that being said, let's move over to insurance, because insurance is definitely really important right now. So obviously insurance is an incredibly important part of our lives here in the entire state of Florida, not just Southwest Florida where I'm at. And really there are two types of insurance that we're concerned with. There's flood insurance, and then there's homeowners insurance, which covers things like hurricanes or fires and things like that. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. We've certainly seen insurance rates go up a fair amount over the last few years, but maybe is not as bad as maybe you're thinking if you're somebody that's up north looking to move here. Definitely bad news sells better, and so our national press coverage on our insurance rates hasn't been so good lately. But what can you really expect out of insurance here? Well, again, we have two types of insurance that we're concerned with for property insurance. Flood insurance is going to be required if you have a mortgage on a home that's located within a flood zone. A good chunk of the properties here, at least on coastal Southwest Florida, are located in a flood zone. So you're going to be concerned with that for the most part if you are getting a mortgage. If you don't get a mortgage, you don't have to have it, but it's always a good idea. Now, up until October of 2021, the majority of the homes that are in a flood zone here in Southwest Florida were covered under what was called the NFIP, or what is called the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. And all that was basically, it was a heavily government subsidized flood insurance program. It was run through FEMA, and it gave us here in Southwest Florida really, frankly, extraordinarily cheap flood insurance rates. I remember back in the day I was paying $600–700 a year for flood insurance. Now it's much different now. As soon as that change was made in October of 2021, those subsidies went away, they changed the maps, and so if you were getting a new policy the day after that change was made, it was, in normal cases, it was maybe several times as much as it was the day before that change was made. So it's important to pay attention to flood insurance. If you are looking at a property, you probably, if you have to have a mortgage and you're going to have flood insurance, you're probably going to want to stay away from certain properties that are in low-lying areas that are particularly older. And I'm thinking in our particular case, the extreme southeast corner of Cape Coral down there where we call the Yacht Club neighborhood. That's where a lot of the flooding occurred during Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago, and flood insurance rates down there are usually limited now to the NFIP programs, and they're in many cases maybe $12,000 or more a year. So that's kind of an outlier. Typically, if you're getting a property that's a little bit more inland, that was a little bit newer, your flood insurance can be anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 a year. Now, once again, if you're outside of the flood zone and you're getting a mortgage, you don't have to, in most cases, you won't be required to have that flood insurance. So that's a pretty important distinction, and that's something that I go over with every single one of my clients that are looking to move here. We need to set some expectations on certain areas and what you're going to be looking to pay for flood insurance there. Now, the other type of insurance that we're concerned with is homeowners insurance, and that's going to be the one that covers your hurricane damage, your additional windstorm damage, things like hail or tornadoes, fires, theft. Basically, cover all for everything that's not associated with flooding. And those rates have gone up a little bit in the last few years, not to the extent that the flood insurance rates have, but we did see them come up a little bit, especially in the wake of Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago for us here in Southwest Florida. And the main thing that you're concerned with there is, the main thing the insurance companies are concerned with is, how old is your home? What kind of roof do you have on it? What kind of protection, windstorm protection do you have? And I wanted to stop by this listing that's actually, I've got closing tomorrow, because they've got some pretty good windstorm protection on these doors and windows here at this house. You can see here, these are accordion hurricane shutters. These things completely shut, close, and they lock. So that's a pretty important and upgraded piece of windstorm protection. And when you put a property under contract, in addition to getting the regular home inspection like you normally would, you would normally have that inspector do what's called a wind mitigation survey. And that basically is just a piece of paper that tells the insurance company how much windstorm protection you have, what's the age of the roof, what type of roof is it, all that kind of good stuff. And you're going to get a lot of discounts for things like these accordion shutters. Some of the newer homes especially, or even some of the older ones that have been upgraded, are outfitted now with hurricane impact windows and doors, and that's a huge reduction on your homeowner's insurance bill. In fact, I just did one this week, help shopping for homeowner's insurance for a set of clients, where we got them, found them a policy that was $500,000 of coverage for a 2018 built home. Had a nice roof on it, had all impact windows and doors, so it had some nice upgraded hurricane protection, and the policy was only $1,500 a year. And that's pretty cheap. Typically, if you're looking for a little bit older of a home, you can expect to pay anywhere from $2,500 to maybe $4,500 a year, depending on the size of the home, the age of the home, exactly how much protection windstorm-wise you have. So it's important to check all that out. And if you've got a qualified agent working for you, like myself, you're gonna avoid some of the pitfalls in both flood insurance and homeowners insurance. And we're gonna shop those rates well before you have to go hard on your deposit. That inspection period is very important to check these rates out. So definitely important to get the wind mitigation survey, check the flood insurance, and then shop rates for both policies, the flood and the flood if you need it, and the homeowner's insurance policy. So definitely pay attention to the insurance rates. That's going to be one of your main monthly or annual costs as a homeowner here in the state of Florida. Okay, so let's get into utility expenses. What can you expect to pay on a monthly basis for utilities here in the state of Florida? Well, again, I'm going to be pretty regional here, and we're going to talk about Southwest Florida and Cape Coral in particular, because that's what I'm familiar with. That's my area of operations here. I'm not really sure how that differs on the East Coast or maybe up in the Panhandle, but at least for here in Southwest Florida, I'll give you what some average expectations should be for your power and your water and sewer and things like that. We'll start off with power. Here in Cape Coral, we get our power through LCEC. It's the Lee County Electric Cooperative. They're basically getting the power from the same place as most of the other areas are here, which is FP&L, Florida Power and Light. And the costs are pretty similar, but let me give you kind of a breakdown. According to their website, the average LCEC bill on a monthly basis is about $177, and that translates to roughly 14.7 cents per kilowatt hour. 177 is a little bit lower than what I would expect in my personal house, but you're obviously going to have a little bit less of a power bill in most cases in the wintertime when you're not running your air conditioner as much, versus in, let's say, late summer like August when that thing's running quite a bit. So the average they're saying is 177. I'll give you kind of what I pay on a monthly basis. I've got a 2,100 square foot home with a pool, and we are on a well and septic system which operates, we don't have central water and sewer, but we operate the well system, which of course runs on electricity. And I can tell you in the wintertime when we're not running the air conditioner as much for that house, we run our pool about maybe 5 or 6 hours every day. Average bill there is probably just under $200 a month in the wintertime. Now, especially late summer when it gets plenty hot and that air conditioner is working overtime to keep that temperature down inside, it can get up into the high 200s. The other thing I'll say too is we kind of keep our house at maybe a little bit higher temperature than what a lot of other folks may like to have. We keep our house at about 75 degrees all day and all night. So if you're a person that likes it a little bit less than that, maybe in the 70s and 2,100 square foot house with a pool, you're probably going to be into the 300s in the summertime. Now, of course, in the winter time, if you have a pool heaters take up quite a bit of energy. And so if you're running that pool heater on a daily basis, your bills are going to be higher. But you can pretty much expectations across the board on average, like I said, $177. If you're a little bit larger of a home with a pool, you're probably somewhere in the 200s. So I did want to mention solar panels. I get asked about them quite frequently, and I certainly like solar panels. It's a great place to have solar panels down here in Southwest Florida. You know, it's just been my experience, at least thus far, that the costs haven't come down enough just yet to really make them make sense from a financial perspective. They'll certainly take your monthly energy bills way down, but you know, many times you have to finance them, and the monthly costs that are associated with financing the solar panels over their entire life just really don't make a lot of sense. They maybe wash out, maybe you're even a little bit upside down on it. So in the long run, solar panels, at least from what I've seen so far, are not terribly cost effective right now. Now they should be coming down, and hopefully those costs will be coming down in the very near future to the point where they do make a lot of sense. And certainly we have a lot of folks down here that have them. But if you're particularly looking for something to do to a home to bring those monthly electrical bills down, you know, a good thing to do is just maybe upgrade the insulation in the attic, have something up there that's a little bit higher R value. You know, the other thing is your windows and doors. I mentioned the impact windows and doors, and not only can those save you quite a bit on insurance on an annual basis, they do a pretty good job of keeping the heat out and the cool in, and doing a good job of insulating those homes, and that'll save you quite a bit on your electrical bills. Again, we're down here in South Florida. It's pretty hot, and anything that you can do to keep that AC from running 24/7 is going to save you in the long run on your power bill. Now let's move over to water and sewer. Of course, here in the city of Cape Coral, we have two different kinds of water sources. In the south, we're mostly on central water and sewer. The southeast and the southwest sections of Cape Coral, they're on central water and sewer. The city's pushing those utilities further into the northern regions of the city. But a lot of the northwest and the northeast are still on well and septic systems. But if you are in a house that has central water and sewer, average bill there's about $100, $110 a month right now. And that's, of course, water and sewer. And it's also, you have the non-potable water that runs your irrigation systems as well. So that's all inclusive of those three things. You can expect about $100, $110 a month depending on your usage. Now, if you're in the northern areas of Cape Coral and you have a well and septic system, of course, you don't have a water and sewer bill like that. But you have a little bit higher of an electrical bill because it costs electricity to pull that water out of the ground and then run it through the filtration system and push it into the house. And if you are in the northeast or northwest, and you do have a well system, you can get that serviced on a monthly basis. It costs about $100, $120 a month. So it's about a wash for the folks to come out, especially if you have an RO system, a reverse osmosis whole house RO system. Sometimes it's a good idea to have those professionals come out on a monthly basis and take care of that, clean it, make sure your system's working well, and replace the filters when they need to get replaced and things like that. And that's going to cost, like I said, about $100 to $120. So you can figure you're going to have a professional monitoring your system and fixing it when it breaks down and things like that. About $100 a month. It's about a wash between central water and sewer and well and septic systems. So I think those are a pretty good indication of where the utilities are, at least here in Southwest Florida. FP&L, you know, I gave you the LCEC numbers. FP&L for electricity is about the same. Their average is $172 a month here in Lee County, or about 14.85 cents per kilowatt hour. So pretty much that's across the board for electrical and water and sewer payments here in Southwest Florida. Internet, I mean, of course, we have the big guys like Comcast. Cost me about $90 a month for high-speed internet where I'm at in the northwest section of Cape Coral. You know, Of course, you can go up from there if you're going to add cable television or some different things like that. We just do regular streaming nowadays, so that high-speed internet's plenty for us. And then we've got our Netflix and our Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. But that's a pretty good indication of what you're going to expect to pay for utilities here in Southwest Florida, at least. So let's move over and let's talk about just some other maintenance costs that you might have on average here in Southwest Florida. All right, so let's finish up with just some basic monthly maintenance costs that you can expect to pay down here in Southwest Florida. And of course, if you're living in an HOA or something like that, a lot of these maintenance things will be taken care of as part of your monthly or quarterly HOA fee. But for us, at least here in the city of Cape Coral, we're responsible for taking care of our things like our pool, our lawn and land maintenance. And lawn and land maintenance, you can pretty much anticipate to pay for a quarter-acre lot, which is fairly typical here. About $100 to $150 a month, depending on the level of tree trimming and bush trimming and things like that you expect that vendor to do. $100 to $150 a month is pretty typical here, and they usually come about once a week, at least in the summer when they need to. They'll mow the grass, they'll do the edging, do the weed eating, trim the bushes up, things like that, for about $100 to $150 a month. Now, if you have a pool, obviously you can choose to take care of that pool yourself and balance those chemicals, but that gets pretty tedious on its own. And at least for me, I like to have a professional come in and take care of that on a weekly basis. And monthly pool costs are going to be around the same for that lawn and land maintenance, maybe on a little bit of the lower side. So you're figuring probably anywhere from $80 to $125, $130 a month for basic pool care for an average size pool. They're going to come every week. They're going to make sure the chemicals look good, make sure the pH is balanced, make sure it's all cleaned out, vacuum it out, skim it, do all that good stuff. So pool care, pretty much on par with that $80 to $125 a month. Some other things I mentioned, the folks in the North Cape are mostly on well and septic systems. And well and septic systems, of course, you don't have that monthly central water and sewer bill, but you've got to pay to maintain that equipment. Usually you have the pump itself that's taking the water out of the ground, and then you have the treatment, the water treatment that touches that water up before it gets pumped actually into the house. And you can pay a service, like in our case, we have a local company called Water Medic that takes care of that equipment for you on a monthly basis. And I think their monthly costs range about $100 a month to come and take care of that. And that includes any additional parts or service that you need while you're under contract, under that maintenance contract with that company. So it kind of works out over the long run. They're going to clean your tanks. They're going to replace your, in our case, reverse osmosis membranes, things like that you need. So sometimes it's kind of worth having that extra guy to come there on a weekly or monthly basis to take care of those things. There's some other things too, like your air conditioner. Some folks like to have that air conditioner checked out on a quarterly basis. They come every 3 months and do a really good checkup on the system and make sure your levels are good and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And obviously air conditioning is very, very important here in Southwest Florida. And something like that's going to typically cost you about $125 or $150 per quarter. So that's not a monthly cost. That's every 3 months or so for them to come in there and do a full system check and make sure everything's running as it should. And that'll get you taken care of in that regard. Another good thing is pest control. Obviously there are different levels of pest control. One of the important things that we treat pests for here, at least in Southwest Florida, are the termites. We've got 2 different types of termites here. We've got subterranean termites and drywood termites, and the subterranean ones are really the ones that you really need to pay attention to and treat for, because they can get in your house and you don't know they're there, and there's a ton of them, and all of a sudden they're chewing up your trusses in your roof and things like that. So treating for those is pretty important. Sometimes you can just get an exterior perimeter pest control. It's for the most part going to keep your pests out, but we are in South Florida here. You're going to have the occasional palmetto bug or a few ants or something like that in your house. But a typical pest treatment plan, they're going to come quarterly and treat maybe the exterior. That's typically going to be $75 to $100 every quarter. Again, they're not coming usually every month. You can probably have companies come on a monthly basis if you choose to, and it's going to be a little bit more if you'd like them to come in your house and treat the inside as well as the exterior perimeter. But a typical pest control company is going to charge you anywhere from $75 to $100, $125 every quarter to do a basic pest treatment on the outside, and that's pretty recommended. You obviously don't want those creepy crawlies coming in your house too much, and definitely the termites are important to treat for those. So those are just some typical examples of what you can expect to pay on a monthly or quarterly basis for average maintenance items here, at least as they pertain to us here in Southwest Florida. So always good to make sure you prepare for those things, because there are some additional costs that maybe you're not thinking of, like that lawn and land maintenance, or the pool maintenance, or the pest control, or taking care of the AC, or in our case, the well equipment. So definitely good things to know. All right, so I hope this video has been at least a little bit insightful to you, maybe giving you a few figures and facts that maybe you didn't know before you went into watching this video. And if you enjoyed this, I really appreciate it if you reach over and hit the like button. And like I said, if you're not subscribed to this channel and you are interested, especially in Southwest Florida or in Cape Coral where I'm at, reach over and hit that subscribe button. I think you're going to get a lot out of these videos. I do put a lot of time and effort into these things and try to give you a lot of really good information, just because I know that if I can create some value for you with these videos, you're going to remember me when the time comes. And you do need a realtor here in Southwest Florida. And of course, my contact information is right there on the screen, and you can call, text, or email me anytime. It's also down in the description of this video. But thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you on the next video here. Again, I do one of these every single week. So I'll see you in the next video here in just a few days.